Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. Waking up for a nice and early morning over here in Tallinn, Estonia. As you can see, we're flying over the downtown Old Town section. Absolutely stunning right now. Very, very hot outside. Way too fucking hot for me. And already working up a sweat. Really don't like it. But of course, as always, want to wish you the best, the happiest of the happiest. We got plenty to talk about today with Bitcoin doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But today, as a little bit of a change, I want to get in a live scene right here, right now. And let's teleport. And I want to talk first about and make sure that everyone knows that all my programs are on sale for the rest of, until Friday. So the next we're on Wednesday. So 3 days with the code 20K20K, as you can see right over there. And that is 20% off on all the payment plans. But of course, I always want to remind people, if you are considering getting in any one of these programs, understand that they are typically designed for someone who wants to go typically more in a more professional sense with this whole route during, doing this as kind of like a life path in a way. They are 35-hour plus long programs. That's the technical analysis program, which we're looking at right here, and also the options programs, both about 35 hours plus long. You're probably going to want to, view those multiple times over time. So understand that it's a massive time commitment, and for most people, it's not going to be too relevant. Most people don't want to become a professional trader, and I'd say that this would be completely overkill and not necessary if that is you. So I'll let you make that decision for yourself. Check out the reviews on them. It's on the links in the description below. And then also make sure that you view the free content with regards both to technical analysis and the options, which are both free playlists on my YouTube channel. The Jewel program, a little bit more instant gratification, I suppose you could say. But again, even with the Jewel, with as good as it is, with as good as it's been shown to be, it only takes one time to really fuck it up, and of course it's only going to be as good as a user. And if you're not already profitable, if you don't already have good risk management, it's not a magic pill. So I want to be very, very adamant with stating that. Anyways, with all that said, let's get down into the fucking magic internet money right here, right now. So we've been talking about too much of that right now. Anyways, Bitcoin hanging on its lows right here, and actually to have full transparency, I did close my put position right over here. Took some profits on that, and in my P&L, just slowly going up. But I've taken off most of my positions. The 9,000 strike calls could have held them on for a little bit more, but again, eking out another $10 per contract, not really worth it in my experience. I'm always going to be happy to close those and roll them over. Although I only got 5 contracts on this 8250 strike, that's okay. Anyways, on the perps and in futures over here, actually did go long on that last drop down to 8550ish area on these June futures. I bought some in. Let's see what was my actual price down here. We can see 75.50. It looks like, yeah, 75.50 on the June futures, which are trading at about a $25 to $50 premium. So that was when spot was around 7,500, about 7,500, we'll call it. And I'm pretty happy with that. Why did I take this position, and what am I looking at over here? Well, it's basically just a 4-hour. The 4-hour, and this is as easy as trading can be sometimes. The 4-hour just came down to the 200x bench moving average, this purple moving average right here, and the 200 simple, which we have actually not broken in about 4 months. The last time that we actually lived below even the white 200 simple, was way over here in 8th of February, and then the 200 exponential, this purple moving average right here, we regained about a week later, it looks like. So overall, I like that from a strong structural perspective, and you can see that we've actually had a pretty damn good reaction off that. Just making sure that I'm recording and mic is on. Okay, great, awesome, good. And I do think that we probably have a little bit of upside here. Now, very, 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 very low time frames, showing a little bit of droopiness. Could be that very low time frames pop back down to about maybe even 7,600 first. But overall, I am looking for this to give another try higher, on the medium time frames essentially. So the 4-hour just about to turn right here. In fact, I believe it has turned on the last tick. So we're likely to get back above this critical zone on the 4-hour Stokes. I like that momentum being gained. We also do see 4-hour RSI likely, again, if I can see this regain the exponential, I'd like it a lot more, but still a little bit under pressure, I suppose you could say. But we're seeing this, on all of the lower time frames. We're seeing bullish divergence being built up, I believe, all the way up to definitely a 2-hour. What about a 3-hour? Do we have any on a 3-hour? We do not have any on a 3-hour, actually. But overall, that's kind of my disposition right now. I'm happy to hold that position. Looking for a little bit higher. I think 8,000 is quite likely. 8,250 would be maybe pushing a little bit too much. But overall, right now, comfortable with that position. Maybe even add a little bit if we come back down to about 7,600. Now, that also means that if Bitcoin does break about 7,600 to the downside, I will take that position off. I'll take profits on that and get the fuck out. Get out of the way, because likely we're going to come back down and sweep the lows again if that were to happen. But like I said, I'm not really leaning towards that happening. I do think that while Bitcoin, on the lower time frames might have a little bit of a pullback here, I do think that ultimately we have set in a nice little local low on the lower time frames, so low in the medium time frames. Now the higher time frames, the 12-hour plus essentially, which actually let's just go over to the 12-hour right over here, still under pressure, actually still under a lot of pressure, and we do see 12-hour oscillators still have plenty of room to the downside, to be fair. Not only that, but 12-hour RSI getting into the bearish control zone for the first time in a very long time as well. So overall, from a higher time frame perspective, I'm still kind of medium to longer term looking for a greater pullback. Lower time frames probably looking for a little bit of an up here. Oh, and I should follow up what we spoke about last night during the live stream. And I was saying that Bitcoin, I was looking at a target somewhere right around 80.50. We got up to about 80.20, it looks like on Stamp. What about BitMexico? About BitMexico, about same, it looks like. So again, these numbers are never going to be super exact, and that's not what I want to be. I don't want to be Mr. Signal. I want to be Mr. Share, and then you can use that as a point of reference. So again, it's never going to be exact, exact when I call out targets like that, because that's not really my intention. My intention is to get the overall feeling of these charts, and more importantly, the medium, the higher time frames, as we discussed yesterday, we're still leaning bearish, and we did come down to that kind of intermediary level right around that 7,500-ish pivot. Although actually Bitstamp got significantly further down, about 74.50 it looks like. Let's see, that should be somewhere within, right around this trend line that we had right over here, which is going to line up with essentially the measure move off of the rising wedge. So I've been using this chart on GDAX to kind of describe this idea, and you can see that we actually filled it out pretty much. I've been changing this chart in about a week. Filled it out pretty much perfectly. So I am expecting a bounce here a little bit more. And like I said, 8,000 I think quite likely. Then we can start talking about 81.50 to 82.50. That's where things actually start to change around. So I'd still be medium term to higher time frame, still looking for a greater pullback as long as we are below this pivot right here, the 82.50ish area. But I do think that this bounce has the power to potentially get into the 8100ish area. 82.50 a little bit more of a wild card. If 82.50 gets taken out to the upside, I will actually switch around my medium to higher time frame perspective to long once again, and probably do look for a move back up towards 8,600, 8,800, something like that. But for right now, I think that this is going to be a little bit of a correction, and then we actually head down a little bit further south. Why do I say that? Well, again, higher time frames are showing pressure down here. So while I do think that we have some sideways to up to go, looking at the daily right over here, we've broken below the yellow 20-minute exponential moving average for the first time, again, in a very long time. I suppose you could say really, about the same thing as the 4-hour, actually, the 4-hour 200 exponential and 200 simple, going all the way back to middle of February. And this is likely to be strong to resistance coming on the way back up. So again, keep your eyes on that. We do see daily Stokes headed fully down. So again, momentum is being gained to the downside. Although, to be fair, we are getting into the neutral zone. And a lot of the time you will see a little bit of a counter trend pressure applied in that region. We do see historical volatility percentile absolutely redlining right here on the daily, and usually tops and bottoms are put in when you see that sort of like major volatility being done. So that's kind of also why I'm looking for a little bit of a pullback here, but ultimately this to me is looking like we probably want to retrace a little bit more. Going over here to the weekly, of course, weekly, that's the big one for me, thinking that we likely do have some more downside here. Overall, looking at weekly Stokes, we're going to be crossing them down for the first time in, again, since middle of February. And historically speaking, they don't like to stay in this range for too long. Even in the bull market of 2016, 2017, kind of oscillate between this region, but doesn't like to. This is like one of the highest times we've ever really seen it in the history of Bitcoin. Like the third or fourth highest time. So again, good place to be looking for. We do have the nice Jesus Christ Doji Diddle right over here with fall views to the downside. So to me, again, it's confirmation that we're going to see likely a little bit lower. I also want to see the weekly test the exponential on this guy, which is going to be right at the edge of the bullish control zone. So I think confluence is right over there, and that would imply, again, some more downside here, probably down to that 7,200-ish target, I would say. And not only that, but we actually do have a little bit of pressure being applied to the weekly jewel. This is not a sell signal in and of itself, although to be fair, this is again, one of the highest times that we've seen the jewel. We got pretty damn high in 2013. It looks like, but in more recent times, this is certainly the highest time that we've actually ever seen it. Flashing red in the background, that's not a sell signal in and of itself, but it is saying caution, and more importantly, weekly support is not until we get down to about 7,200 not just confluent with that area, but also the daily 50 exponential moving average, the 2-day 21 exponential moving average, which can you consider that we've already had a test down around there? You could say that, I suppose. We'll talk about 2-day Stokes in a second, but also more importantly, the CME gap coming in all the way down right around here, right around about 7,200 to 7,150, we'll call it, as CMEs are trading at about a $20 to $25 premium still. So if we do come back down around there, I would be looking for a bounce, and that will actually be on the CME 4-hour 200 exponential, just funnily enough. So that is, that from a longer term time frame perspective is where I'm looking for like a legitimate potential bottom to this pullback. Doesn't mean that it's 100% going to be the bottom to the pullback, but I think it's worth the trade, and I will be bringing in some of my trading capital from from my actual account back into this market. If and when that does happen. So I am making a little bit of a call here, a little bit more like medium to long term. I suppose like a couple weeks out probably. But I would say that this area has potential, so to speak. There are a couple other areas of interest, of course. The other area of interest is going to be around 5,800, about 5,600 to 5,800, we'll call it, somewhere down around here, right around the 200 exponential on the CMEs, which again, about 5,850, and it's going to be rising over time as well. If 7,200 breaks, and then if 5,500 breaks, well, we'll talk about it when it gets there. And I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I don't really think that this is going to happen, to be 100% clear. But if it were to break, then yes, I would be looking at a move down to about 4,200-4,300-ish area. But again, I'm not really leaning towards that happening. Just, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if we destroy the structure right over here, then we have to be aware of this next pivot. This is where the next, major inflection point on the market lies. And do I still have my glass on? I still have my glass on. Nice. Embarrassing as fuck. Anyways, we do see daily Stokes headed down right over here on daily CMEs, which have been pretty fucking accurate, but we are catching wind of the 21 exponential moving average. So again, I am thinking short-term bounce here. If we can confirm today's daily dildo above the yellow 21, which is about 7,600 by close, which is 7 p.m. Eastern time on CMEs, then I think that we probably do pop back up and test around the red 10 simple, which is going to be that 8,200-ish area, that 8,250-ish pivot. So I would still be looking for likely a rejection right around there. But remember that if Bitcoin can take that back up to the upside, it's going to be bullish back up to the prior highs, most likely. I mean, maybe not prior highs, but 87, 80, 8,800 becomes quite likely at that point in time. Overall, what else do we want to talk about? Looking at, do we have anything to look at on the weekly for CMEs here? Yeah, weekly support on CMEs is significantly lower, but I think that this is just a little bit too much of a new chart. More importantly with CMEs, just another confirmation that this is a nice little top. We've taken out the low of a prior wick for the first time, since really like early February. So it's been about 4 months, and that is a change of behavior. We also do see the top 200 band getting rejected as well. I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that we're probably gonna get rejected from it. Same thing with spot over here. This is exactly what you want to see on a reversal. You want to see a reversal dildo with fall through to the downside, and then on the follow through dildo, you want to see another test to the upside of that top 200 band, rejection and straight down, and that's exactly what we got. And so again, pretty confident that this does have some more to go over time. But for now, like I said, I am long from about 7,500, so I'm happy with that. Anyways, okay, let's go over the 2-day and the 3-day. There's a lot to be aware of over here. 2-day, again, 2-day 21 exponential moving average coming in right around that critical 7250-ish pivot. Also, we see the middle 200 band, which typically speaking, after you get rejected from the top after trending outside, you're going to come back down and test that area around that area. Typically speaking, I'm going to take this off for now and bring up our 2-day Stokes, which are very important right here because we are one close away, which is going to be tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time, from breaking this trend line right here. And if we do break this trend line, I would look for the 2-day Stokes to head ultimately lower down into the edge of the bullish control zone, somewhere right around here. You can see a little bit of activity being done, historically speaking. So when if and when that does happen, I would say that does offer up the floodgates for that move a little bit further south into that area that we just spoke about. which is likely going to be with confluent with the 21 exponential moving average. Same thing with the 3-day right over here. Sorry, and we should also talk about the bearish divergence on the 2-day. Whoops, not that, but this guy right over here, obviously already played out, but between this point and this point, boom, boom, this guy usually come down to the 21, and that's, we've actually kind of already, do you consider this a test already? You certainly could. I mean, when we're talking about bigger numbers, there is a margin of error, right? And this, about 2.5% off, not too bad, especially for Bitcoin. But I would still say based off of our higher time frames, likely a little bit more pressure to go. And looking at 3 days, we do see 3-day Stokes actually, really fighting to go down here. It looks to me like they're probably going to do it. I think we get another tick on this, yes, tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So both the 2-day and the 3-day will be closing together. Not only that, but if we do close here or lower, or basically anywhere below, I'd imagine like 7,900 perhaps. Especially below 7,800, we will confirm this light blue oscillator below the pink, which is not going to be that 30 to 40% signal that I've been looking for, but it's going to be probably about like 10 to 15% if I had to put a judge on it. And from top to bottom right now, that'd probably put us right around the 7,200-ish area, which you do see this white 200 simple coming in right around here. Not only that, but we do have a golden cross right over here. So longer term, because Bitcoin did regain both the white 200 simple and get a golden cross, which was right over here. Historically speaking, these have been pretty damn good indications of general trend to the upside. And you do see that, yes, Bitcoin did come back down and test the white 200 simple after breaking it out to the upside. But that was really the only test that it really had before, really putting it in the top and like a year later breaking it to the downside. Well, we have both now. We have both the golden cross confirmed right over here. We have the 200 simple right over here. While I do think that Bitcoin probably does come back down and test it, which again is right around 7,200. As long as it closes still just above there, I do consider this, relatively good. And from a longer term perspective, I am looking to be a buyer of the dip. So I tentatively speaking, like I said, 7,200 is my first area of interest. Then we have about 6,100 to about 5,800, we'll call it. I know it's a little bit different than what I said before, but I want to be a little bit more of a range. And if that were to fail, which again, I'm not leaning towards it happening, but if it were to happen, I would be looking somewhere down around 42 to 4,300, tentatively speaking. So again, longer term, I am looking to be a dip buyer just because I do believe that I've seen everything that I need to see from Bitcoin to confirm that the low is extremely likely and that's where your edge is right now. The overall general trend is to the upside. We do see the monthly printing its first higher high in well over a year, so going back all the way to December 2017, with this guy closing right over here. So yeah, yes, we do likely have a pullback here, but keep in mind our higher time frame oscillators. We do see monthly Stokes headed back up, getting back above this critical zone right over here that did accurately call the bottom of 2015, the momentum being gain of 2015. And more importantly, we do see the monthly RSI retaking the exponential, same thing in 2015 as well. Very, 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 very good signal. And while I do think that we come back down and test this exponential, that to me is probably going to be indicative of a buy. 21 exponential on the monthly is coming in right around 57.50, so that's also going to be a point of interest. But that's that kind of lines up with that second tier of area that we were looking at. First tier is 7,200, second tier in 58 to 61 we'll call it, and then third tier is last out of the defense really is 4,200 before big problems. I'd say big problems below about 5,500, 5,800-ish pivot. Anywhere below there, big problems. But technically, it's not until we actually break 4,200 to the downside where that's like, then we can start talking about new lows. But again, I'm not leaning towards that happening. I feel like I'm being way too much of a FUD fucker right now. That sounds bad. That sounds like it can be taken up in multiple different ways. More importantly, let's talk about the 3-day right over here for a second, just because the 3-day does have this going on, which I've been speaking about relative, every now and then, every now and again, the good old super gup, which has turned green once again. And just from a higher time frame perspective, when it turns green, it stays green for a while. When it turns red, it stays red for a while. And we just turned green right over here after being red for well over a year as well. And what's up, Eric Carl? Hey, nice name, man. I have the same name, and you spelled the right way too. So it's a pleasure to meet you, man. Welcome to the cave. So yeah, man. Again, just another higher time frame thing saying, trend. I'm looking to be a buyer of a dip. What else do we want to look at? We can look at the weekly for a second. Weekly all moving averages have switched to a bullish posturing, but again, that doesn't mean that we can't have a pullback, but just longer term, it looks fine to me. Got the red 10 above the yellow 21, above the green 50, above the cyan 89, above the purple 200, all lower periods trade above higher periods. Good. And let's go back into the lower time frames over here on BitMexico and see what else we can look at. So yeah, Bitcoin having that little bit of a pullback that we spoke about at the beginning of this video. I do think this thing can come all the way back down to about 7,600-ish area and still be okay as a as a local low. If we do start to violate 7,600, then yes, probably does come back down to sub 7,500, and then we probably grind out this 4-hour 200 simple and 200 exponential once again. But I would not get bearish here for a more prolonged move to the downside until we actually break the 200 exponential or 200 simple. I mean, they're basically one and the same right here, to the downside and close like open and close a 4-hour dildo below it. Then yes, I'd be looking for a move very, very likely into the lower 7,000s. So again, that would be coming in right around 7,500, so about a $500 trade if it were to happen. More importantly, I would still be leaning towards a little bit of a little bit more of a bounce here overall, based off of the medium time frames. Let's go look at the 6-hour and the 8-hour. We haven't looked at these guys just yet. 6-hour Stokes are going to be crossing back up to the upside, likely on the next tick, barring any sort of just actual nuke, just shuffling us back down to 7,400. We do see 6-hour RSI not really telling us too much. It's too low, bro. Can't go lower than that. Of course it can. What else we got? 8-hour right over here. 8-hour, same thing. Not really anything new to report on over here. And that's going to be replicated onto the 10 and the 12 most likely. If we go back to, I'm curious if there's any sort of buy signals on the Jewel coming off of the lower time frames. We do have the 2-hour, which did fire by at 1 a.m. my time, which was actually on the low, so not bad. And we do see the blue 377 exponential coming in right around 7,600. So I do want to see this area defended if we do come back down and test it. But did we get any sort of a perfect buy? 3 hours gonna fire off a decent signal relatively soon. What about the hourly? Did the hourly get one? The hourly did get one actually on the bottom as well. Actually, the hourly got a pretty much a perfect signal right here, and this was literally right on the bottom. So again, if you do have access to the Jewel, keep use that as a reference point. Damn good signal being put in right there, and exactly the reaction that you'd be looking for especially on an hourly. You don't want to get too greedy on an hourly, but almost 6% over the course of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Really fucking good, man. And again, that's, there you go, the fucking Jewel. Jesus Christ, man. Anyways, let's go check out traditional marks really quick. Traditional marks closing the day at 280.5, as we spoke about yesterday, likely to bounce back up into the 280s, and we got that. Now, I actually keep tabs with my mentor quite a bit, and he always sends me, just kind of like it's not really a secret weapon. I don't want to say it's a secret weapon. It's not a secret weapon. It's not anything that people don't know about or anything like that. But we always keep tabs on which strikes do the most volume for options for both the bi-weeklies on Wednesday and the weekly expirations on Friday. And usually whichever strikes trade the most, we're going to close somewhere in there and fuck all the premium buyers, typically speaking. And the ones that are doing the most volume right now is the 2.8. I think it's like the 280.5 strike and the 279 strike. So I do think that we probably end up going a little bit sideways today. Probably close the day somewhere between about 279.5 to 280.5, perhaps right around here. Which Bitcoin has actually been kind of correlated with traditional markets on this last run. In a way, depending upon what time frame you look at, but both of them kind of put in their lows around the same day. SPY about a day, about a day sooner, and overall, the big news for me for SPY is that I am looking for, kind of similar to Bitcoin, I'm looking for a bigger bounce here. I do think that it works its way back up. A little bit, but overall, I would be looking for sells. I am bearish based off the monthly right over here. I do think that ultimately, sometime over the next month or two, it probably does head back down to about 269, and perhaps even lower than that to about low 262-ish area, and then we'll kind of come back to it. But for right now, it does look like it wants to play out a little bit more of a bounce. Daily resistance right around 282.5. And we do have this nice gap still left unfilled right around 285.25. So those are the two areas of interest from the upside. Like I said, though, I do think this one still has some more downside to go. Let's go check out Mr. Buterol and Mrs. Litecoin, see how these beautiful ladies are doing. Mr. Buterol losing the 21 yesterday, not good. If we close this next dildo below 246, I would say that it is extremely likely that we head back down and test about 220ish area over the next over the next week or two. Looking at the weekly right over here, speaking of, yeah, weekly is now taking out the low of the prior at 239, officially confirmed, and weekly support isn't, it really isn't until about that 215 to 220ish area as well. So we are going to see, I do think that we're probably in for a pullback here as well, in confluence with Bitcoin, but just like Bitcoin, lower time frames, probably put in a little bit of a local low here, maybe works its way all the way back up to, 245, 250, something like that. Again, it's easier to watch Bitcoin, and they're likely to do about the same thing, just, different numbers, right? Litecoin, same thing right over here. Litecoin losing the 21 exponential moving average. I don't like this one. This one actually does have some more downside. 90, what is this, like $92, $92 to $93 is the next point of interest for a legitimate bounce, in my opinion. Looking at the weekly, we do see the red 10 simple actually a little bit lower than that, but I would be looking for a bounce in that region, $90 to $92 ish area. Lower time frames, does it bounce back up to 107 first? Maybe it does. But like I said, likely going to just fall whatever and mimic whatever Bitcoin does, which Bitcoin has a more clean chart right now, I think. Let's go look at the other top shitcoins. What do we got over here? Mr. Cardano, again, still hanging on to its lows. I know it's ugly. I know it's not the picture perfect, but do you think that it is putting in a low here overall? Basically putting in one massive triangular consolidation on the bottoms. Whoops, looks like I already have it in there. Nice. We just need to redraw this because, well, triangles always fucking draw them. It actually kind of reminds me of Bitcoin coming off of its lows, putting in basically a triangle on the bottom as well, and then it just happened to break it out to the upside. And I do think that this one probably has put in a low as well. I think most alts have put in a low, and they do work their way higher. Cardano here versus Bitcoin probably works its way towards 1250ish area. GBDC, how do we close that one? Yeah, very, very. GBDC is a very clear reversal, actually. A little bit of an easier chart. BNB, yeah, taking the southern path as well. I do think that this one has some more downside, ultimately towards $25.5, $26-ish area. Looking at the daily, yeah, about 26.5 is going to be the next point of interest, and I would be looking for a bounce there, but looking pretty heavy here, looking pretty fucking heavy. Zcash, what's Zcash doing? Same thing, probably comes back down to $72.5, $73. Bcash, same thing, probably comes, well, Bcash actually having a decent reaction here, but again, probably not strong enough to do its own thing within this market. I'd say probably does have another sweep of 355. We actually looked at that yesterday. We got down to 362.5. Okay, so not quite there just yet, but I do think that we do hit that. Tron actually acting one of the best reactions, to be fair. Tron, I think works its way back up to 0.037. It's okay. I mean, it's okay. This is a strong structure right here. 3.1 cent is a good area. As long as that one holds, I'm not bearish on this. Now, lower time frames do look like they want to come back down to 0.0325. But I'd give this one the benefit of the doubt here. Neo Cash, what's Neo doing? Neo on its lows as well, just like the rest of the market, and it's getting beat up a little bit more than the rest of the market as well. So a little bit on the more relatively weak side. Looking at weekly though, I do have a difficult time getting bearish in this region. I don't want to get bearish till we actually see $11 break. Then we can start talking about a move back into the 990ish region. But for now, I think it's too premature. Again, going to do what the rest of the market does. EOS, strong chart as well, coming back down to the red 10 simple on the day, on the weekly. Probably does bounce in this region, maybe a little bit lower, maybe kind of sweeps the lows once again at $6.10. But do you think that this one wants to set up for a bounce here as well? Looking at the 4 hour, very, 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 very similar to Bitcoin. Let's see what else we got, man. XRP 39.18, and again resting on the 200 on the 4 hour. What does the daily say? Daily does look like we have some more downside into the 37.25 cent region. Weekly, yeah, weekly's kind of losing it here. Weekly, however, next major support's down around 36 cents, so it does have some room to go. Monero, 84.5. Again, going to be doing the rest of the market. Weekly support is 78.33. Daily, yeah, probably wants to come back down to about a little under 80, about 79.80ish area. More recently, Stellar, if I could get it around, well, if I'm not trading this thing, but if I could get it around, theoretically speaking, around 11.176 cent, somewhere in this region, 11.20, we'll call it 11.20 cent. I'd probably actually be a buyer. That does look like a nice little area, and I do think that Stellar is probably bottomed out overall. However, if we do start to break that area, then we got some big problems. But for right now, again, I give it the benefit of the doubt. Gonna follow the rest of the market, and Bitcoin still leads. Speaking of Bitcoin, we forgot to speak about the longs and shorts, both of which are pretty much parity right now. We have 19,500 open longs versus 19,500 open shorts, both paying. I mean, shorts are obviously paying a much smaller rate than longs, but neither is that high. We do have about 136,000. 1,360 hedge shorts, coins hedge short. So we really have about 18,000 open naked shorts versus 19,500 open naked longs. That to me is pretty much irrelevant. It's neither bullish nor bearish. Both sides have plenty of dry ammo to go in dry, as those things can get up much higher towards like the 40,000 region as you've seen in the past. This is longs represented in chart format. This is shorts represented in chart format. Both can get up much higher. So that's kind of telling me that we're posturing for a relatively big move soon, as both sides have completely unloaded, and that means that there's a lot of people waiting on the sidelines to put their money into the market either which way, whether it's bearish or bullish. So that's kind of like just the fuel analogy. We have plenty of fuel to drive this train. Not only that, but we have something very interesting right over here. The crypto fear and greed index. We are taking out at 27 right now, which historically speaking, I mean, we've just fucking nosedived. We were just at a 63 a couple days ago and just nosedived straight to 27, basically halfway down. And I would say that this would kind of suggest that we are closer to a little bit of a local low than not. And again, when we're looking at the bigger picture, 7,200 is still that big area that, that I want to be aware of. And because of that, matching up with this, I would say that is, kind of in line with that. But did want to show this just because the market got really fearful really fast. And that does make it more difficult to go down as people are more protective. Still a little bit of scarring from the bear market, which you would expect after, about a year and a half of that. But right now, I do think that people are a little bit overdoing it. So again, with all of that said, I'm going to get back on over here to Bitcoin, wrap up the most important things we have, and then leave you off till tonight. And again, I do think that Bitcoin's probably put in a local low right here. Lower time frames, yeah, they might come back down to 7,600-ish area. But overall, as long as 7,600 is held, this area right here, I am looking for this to kind of do a little bit of a local low, work its way back up, maybe to about 8,000, maybe 8,150, 8,200. But medium to long term, I am looking for a more significant pullback down into the lower 7,000s, as long as 8,250 is not regained by the bulls. This blue box territory right over here, as long as this area is not regained, I am a little bit more bearish from that time frame perspective. So again, this is this is the long game, and it's we're kind of in a corrective state, so it's going to take it's going to kind of test people's patience. Like I said, I will be holding this position long for now. This buy in at like 85.50 or sorry 70 not 85.50 75.50, just taking some off my short hedge from the June futures, so I'm exposed long a little bit. And I'm quite happy with that. 0.4 Bitcoin realized profit. Okay, cool with me. And again, if we go below 7,600, I will take that position off, just take the profits and run, and perhaps reconsider a little bit lower. So again, that's going to do it for right now. If we do break 7,600 in the meantime, before I get back on video, then yes, I would be looking at a flush at the very least down to our prior lows at 74.50, but probably does make that move towards 7,200 if that does happen sooner rather than later. But again, I'm not leaning towards that happening right now. I'm leaning towards it, maybe a short-term pullback, maybe down to about 76, and then probably reverses back up, and so we put in a little bit of upside, and then we'll reassess from there. That would be kind of my general disposition, and then medium to high time frame, still looking for a greater pullback as long as we're below this blue box right here, below about 82.50. Anyways, that's going to do it for right now. Again, programs on sale for the next couple days, so I do want to make sure that anyone who's interested in that has that information, because I don't really plan on doing anything after that for a while. Maybe during my birthday or something like that, but that's still a ways away. So again, I do want to make sure that information is readily available. And with all that said, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you on this lovely Wednesday. Yeah. Hey, happy Wednesday. And I'll be back on later with some more live stream analysis. Looking forward to seeing you there, and take care.